The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Radio Global, Who Knew Productions, JSA Media, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Hey, this is Jimmy with your weekly lineup. Starting on Mondays at 8 o'clock p.m., we have Spot On with Lino and Debbie. Right after Spot On is Straight Talk with Matt Hazley. He's on at 10 p.m. Eastern. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock p.m., Talk Time with Val. Right after Val is Sammy V with Thoughts for Food. He's on at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. On Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have a radio show called Suspense. And at 10 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, we have On the Air with Mike Allen. On Thursday nights at 8 p.m., we have Outline with Jay and Sarah. After Outline we have Real Talk with Robert Zuckerman. After Real Talk, we have Night Talk with Joe Rocks. He's on at 10 p.m. Eastern. At 11:30 p.m. Eastern, we got Pot Talk with Jim and Paul. And at 12:30 a.m., we have Outline with Jay and Sarah. They're on right after Pot Talk. On Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, we have Straight Talk with Matt Hazley. And to wrap it up on Saturdays at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we have Thoughts for Food with Sammy V and Chris T. That's your weekly lineup. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Real Talk with Robert Zuckerman. And here's your sexy host now, Mr. Zuckerman himself. Hi, Robert.
Hey, Val. Thanks for that lovely introduction. So welcome, everyone, to another episode of Real Talk. And tonight we have a very special guest, and I'm going to kind of back up a little to kind of set it up. I lived in Los Angeles for a long time, and on my street where I lived, it was, a bunch of older, smaller, like four-unit apartments that were built in the 20s. And across the street from me, where I lived, across the street and a few buildings down, was this Jewish guy named Isaac. And he was, a religious Jewish guy, and he would always be out, and he would like to tinker with cars and so forth. And one day I was coming back from the airport, and my taxi left me off like two buildings down from my building, and I got out, and I happened to be right across the street from Isaac. He was outside, and we ended up having this amazing conversation for about an hour. And he asked me, why did the taxi let you off here? And I said, I don't know. So Isaac told me about this concept in Judaism, and it's probably in other religions too, about how the wind might blow a leaf onto an insect and protect it. And he said, the wind blew us together. And I feel like, this whole experience of being on the show, the wind blew me to Steve Joyner, and then blew us together with you, Val. And in the same sense, the wind blew me together with our very special guest tonight, Libby Moore. And we're going to tell the story, but welcome, Libby. Welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Val. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
The wind definitely blew us together. There's no question.
Yeah. And so, Libby, should I tell my side of the story about how we met?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, my younger half-sister, Patricia, Patty, back in the late 1980s, began having mobility issues and falling, and, it was obvious that something was going on with her. And we back then got as many tests as we could. And Patty had been a teacher's aide in daycare centers in New York City. She had been diagnosed in high school as learning disabled, and she went to a special program at New York University that certified mentally challenged young adults to become teacher's aides in daycare centers. So she, in the late 80s, was a teacher's aide at the United Nations Daycare Center, and that was when she began falling. And she'd been even though learning disabled, had been a very self-sufficient, ambitious young woman, and she happened to be a big fan of Oprah Winfrey's. So as Patty was going through her condition or situation, we tried to get her story to Oprah's attention. And we'd send in, I sent in letters and other things, and, always got back a very polite form letter, because you can imagine, even back then, how many people were trying to reach Oprah. So this went on for years and years, and then I was also, at the time, developing myself and got into the motion picture industry as a photographer, and, began developing credits and, building a name for myself. So, Patty's condition continued to progress, and by the late 1990s, she was quadriplegic and required a feeding tube, and, still very much aware and present, but just, her that was her condition. And, every now and then I'd still try reaching Oprah. And then finally, in the early 2000s, I worked on the movie Bad Boys 2, and there I developed a relationship with Will Smith and his team. And so,
Bad boys.
Yes. Exactly. And then, so in 2005, I published my book called Kindsight, which is a collection of photographs and writings celebrating the richness of everyday life. And it's a beautiful little coffee table book. And around 2006, I asked Will Smith's chief of staff, Dana Babatunde Bey, if she could help me get through to Oprah. And so she referred me to Oprah's chief of staff, Libby Moore. And I ended up sending 3 signed copies of my book to Libby. And a little while later, pretty soon right after that, I got a nice little handwritten note from Libby saying, thank you for the books. And I have one, and Miss Winfrey has one, and her producer has one. And then, then it kind of went silent. I didn't hear anything. And about 6 months later, I was in Miami visiting my family and my sister, and on one Sunday morning, my phone rang, and it says, "Hi, Robert, this is Libby Moore, Oprah Winfrey's chief of staff." And she said, Libby, you said to me, "Oh, yeah, you can only imagine how busy I am," which is, I can't even imagine, because but she said, your book has been sitting on my table for 6 months. And I finally this morning picked it up and opened it up, and I've been crying for the last 2 hours, and I want you to bring your sister and your mom to Chicago to meet Miss Winfrey. So that was that took 15 years from the time I think I started contacting her, and so, but that's it.
Everything happens at its own pace for a reason.
Absolutely, and that's how, the wind blew us together, and so we ended up coming to Chicago and had a lovely meeting. And even though that day I think Miss Winfrey was not feeling that well, she was very gracious and gave my mom and sister time, and we got photographs, and it was really like a dream fulfilled. And then from that point on, Libby and I have been great friends.
Yeah, that is the truth.
Does that make sense? Was that sort of accurate, Libby?
You did a great job. Even though I have 2 little notes. One, because there's no real introduction. Like, I'm not Oprah's chief of staff now. I want to be clear. I'm her former chief of staff.
Former chief of staff, sorry.
Yeah, she I left 4 years ago. And I wanted to say that when you started, it's so true. Like, I was like, oh my God, did I open the call with, well, you know how busy I am. Hopefully I didn't start out that way. But I was like explaining, like it was just insane, the amount of, of course, requests and letters and on and on and on. So
yeah. I don't think anybody has a clue, because they think, oh, how glamorous, like that when I worked in the film business, it's such glamour, but you're working 16 hours a day, just standing around most of the time, and I'm sure,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say, and I started that job in December 2000, and God, you're accurate. It was about 6 years later that we connected.
Yeah.
Are you there? Yeah. Okay. I'm totally new on this podcast thing, so things are like booping and blooping.
Well, it's not really a podcast. Laptop. It's live right now. We're internationally live. Yeah.
See, you're educating me as we go. I'm learning something new every day, people.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it will be set on Spreaker as a podcast for anybody to download it.
Very good point. Like I said, I have Fisher-Price computer skills, so it's actually shocking when people are like, wait, what was your position again? Anyway, I wanted to say, it was mounds and mounds and mounds of work and emails and meetings and an extraordinary experience, an amazing job. And for something to pop out, I mean, this Kindsight book that you did, Robert, I remember seeing it, and the cover is so extraordinary. That picture of the two, is it one boy with the light sticks on his cheeks?
It's two boys.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that just grabbed me.
That was what is the park in New York around 14th Street? I'm just blanking
Union
on the name.
Square?
Yes. And I was there on September 11th of 2004, so it was on the third anniversary of 9/11. And in that park, there was a peace procession. A group of marchers had actually started in Boston, were marching through, and they were using those little glow sticks as like candles to light the way of their march. And those were two children of the peace marchers, and they had the glow sticks. And it was getting dark outside, and I said, okay, just hold those up to your eyes, and that was what happened. But it seemed that those glow sticks, in a way, symbolized the Twin Towers. There was a lot of people read stuff into that. So, and that was also, it was right around that time that you know how you were walking around and ideas will pop into your head, because I had been calling it something else before that, and then that's when the word Kindsight came into my mind. Anyway,
it's so powerful, and even talk about the power of photography. That photograph just grabbed me, and the energy of all that moment. I didn't even know that was the backstory of those kids in that photograph, but you can feel that energy just pop off the book. And I think that was one of the reasons why I took it home. And I never took work home. It wasn't like taking work home. I thought you had sent one to me, one to Miss Winfrey, one to the producer. And I just thought, I'm taking this home. And it sat on my coffee table for such a long time. And that, like you said, that Sunday or whenever it was, I remember just having coffee and saying, I'm going to look through this book, and reading story after story of these incredible people. And that moved me to call you, which I did not do a lot in the 11 years that I worked in that position. But it moved me so much. And here we are 10 years later, through a real friendship, connecting once again. So that's how we met. Yeah. That's how the wind blew us together.
I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, and
me too.
Yeah. So I have a quick question for Libby, if I can interject here.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So you've had a very interesting career thus far. Mm-hmm. But I feel like when you told me that you're an adventure seeker, I feel like even though you have achieved and accomplished more than most people have and will even dream of, that you're still, looking for that next big adventure out there. So what does the world hold for you? What's your next step now? What's going on in your career?
Okay, so before I answer that, I need to take a step backwards first, into the old job, which was as Oprah's, as her former chief of staff, executive and personal assistant. When you say like you've achieved so much, that without the team of assistants that I worked with, that I managed, there were five assistants, and together as a team, we managed and scheduled and synchronized her personal and professional life, and kind of, that was our responsibility. So we were kind of the hub of everything would go through our office to organize all that.
Okay, I love you. Because most people won't take the time to actually acknowledge that it takes more than one person. It's a team, and that is extremely humbling and beautiful. Thank you for that. Now, go on, please.
Okay, well, I thank you for acknowledging that, and thank you to that team, all of those people who came through that office, because I wouldn't have lasted 6 months without those people. Those people were and are so extraordinary at what they do. That is why I stayed in that position for 11 years. I wouldn't have I kid all the time. Like I said, as we were trying to set this up before the call, like, I have Fisher-Price computer skills. It's not something I want to advertise. I don't put that on LinkedIn. But you know what, people? It's the truth. I'm not looking for a typing job or, a PowerPoint. it's really, we were a team. And so together as a team, we did that. And so I wanted to make a point of thanking them and acknowledging that entire team. And then as far as what I'm doing now, I left about 4 years ago, January 2012. And, it was a very difficult decision. I really didn't want to leave, but it had been 11 years. I was super fried. I've said this before. I went through 3 relationships when I was in that job because, it's an enormous job, and it takes a lot of time and energy and focus, and I was all in, and I loved it. And there are areas of my personal life that, suffered because of it. And
Right.
It's not because of the job. I made a choice to be all in.
It was because you were so enthralled with what you're doing and so dedicated and devoted that, there's only so many hours in a day and so much energy a person has. It's everybody who's been through school. In high school today, they try to juggle it, much less in the corporate world. We all understand that.
Yeah. The whole balancing, I don't know anybody, I don't know, the whole balancing thing is kind of like this illusion, I think, that people are going after. It's like a seesaw, you know what I mean? Sometimes work is awesome, sometimes your personal life is awesome, and it's just trying your best to kind of keep it in the middle, but in reality it's a little like up and down and up and down. So I went on, when I left, I decided I'm going to take a year off, or actually, as Dan Eldon would say, Google Dan Eldon. That's all I'm going to say. The journey is the destination. Right?
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace, yes. A photojournalist who was killed...
age 22 or 21?
Yeah.
In Africa? Yeah.
Exactly.
And brilliant. His stuff is amazing.
Yes. He pops up in my head all the time. So I remember getting that. Actually, I remember working at the Oprah show when his mother and sister were on to promote that book, The Journey is the Destination, which is the book of all of his journals that he kept during that time prior to his death. And I remember seeing it we would always get extra books. So the producers would put it in an area after the show had been over where people could come and take the book if they wanted. And I was making a copy at the copy machine, and I saw that book, and I flipped through, and I thought, wow, what is this? Oh, my God. And I remember then seeing the show when it was on later, and I was so blown away by that kid and his family and his mom, Kathy Eldon, and Amy, his sister. And I've kept that book with me I have it here in New York with me. I've been through so many apartments, and I bring that book with me. Which brings
what is
me
it
to...
called?
The Journey is the Destination.
That's okay.
Dan Eldon. ELD is in David.
I need to get that book. Okay.
And his both, as you say, his mom, Kathy, and his sister, Amy, they have dedicated themselves to keeping his legacy and his message alive. So
I love that you just said that.
And they have a beautiful foundation. It's called Creative Visions Foundation. Which is, I think, CVF, creativevisionsfoundation.org, if you want to take a look.
Wait a minute, he was only 22 when he passed away, and yet he accomplished so much.
Yeah, amazing guy. And they I think they were just in Africa, they made a feature film about his life. It's probably in post-production now.
Yep, that's exactly where it is. And the website is, I just looked it up, creativevisions.org.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yay! Dan's in this interview. I love it. Right?
Yeah.
I have a big smile on my face.
That's cool.
Right So I was inspired by what he did. So I decided I'm taking a year, as Dan would say. That's what I was going to say. As Dan would say, I'm taking a year on. I'm not taking a year off. I'm taking a year on, and I called it the Libby Moore Gypsy Tour. 365 days of following my heart. So I'd been in my head so much, like when you're in that kind of intense, high achieving, fast moving, fast paced, high caliber job where you feel like you're just kind of bobbing above water or trying to, keep on top of everything. You just don't have time, you just don't have time to do so many things. And so I decided I'm going to take a year and reconnect with myself, number one. And for me, that meant meditation, prayer, journaling, traveling, going to see my family and friends where I grew up in Maryland and Delaware, coming back to New York City and seeing my friends here. My partner and I went to South Africa on safari, and I went to see a faith healer called John of God in Brazil for 10 days by myself. So I did anything, and my partner and I at the time, we rented a cottage on a lake in Seattle. We only knew 2 people there. I mean, it was this tiny, we went from living in a high-rise apartment in downtown Chicago to this teeny tiny little cottage on a lake in the middle of it was in Seattle, so not in the middle of nowhere, but I didn't know anyone but these 2 other people who had invited us to come up and visit. So it was a connection with myself. And I remember people at the time, like people in the business, quote unquote, the business were like, oh, you can't take a year off. That's crazy. You can't even take 6 months off. You're going to be forgotten. People will forget about you.
Career suicide.
Yeah, it's career suicide. And I just would look at them and say, but I'm not in that game. Like that's not my game, Yeah. And if people forget about me, that is fine. That means I'm not supposed to be working with those people. And the people who remember me, then great. Maybe we end up collaborating in some way down the road. It was about freeing myself from the one, like what people expected of me. My partner at the time was super supportive, like, you need to do what's right for you. There are other people in my life that were freaking out, like, why would you leave that job? That's crazy. And I just felt like, even though I really wanted to stay and absolutely love Oprah, and we have a friendship, and we've spent over a decade together, it's like I just had to go and find myself, I guess. In some ways, it sounds kind of like Saturday Night Live, cheesy.
Can I ask you something?
Fine. Yeah, but it's true. That's what I needed to do. Yes. Can I
ask you something? Okay, so working with Oprah, she is, oh my God, she's a larger than life figure in a lot of people's minds. She has a huge heart, beautiful personality. She's inspirational. She's a hero to a lot of people, right? And has been for a long time. And that's why her show is so popular, I think. But when people ask you, how could you leave that job and go find yourself and seek yourself? Do you think it was more so that instead of falling into the trap of living your life in order to work, you realized that you needed to actually live your life a little bit?
That's such a great question. Yeah, I felt like I needed to reconnect with myself. That's the only way I can articulate it. To find myself, yeah. Yes, I felt like, and it was a really difficult decision, and it was absolutely taking a leap of faith. And when I say faith, for me, that means one thing, and I can guarantee you whatever it means when people are listening and they hear the word faith, that could mean to them their higher self, the universe, Jah, Allah, God, source, the divine. I could go on and on and on. It's all the same thing. Right. That's my belief, that it's all the same thing. So for me, it was trusting in that higher power and just saying, you know what? Something in my gut is saying you need to go out and A, take time to yourself to get back to yourself, and then B, take all of this incredible experience and knowledge that you've gathered here. And I took that job at 34, so I had been working since I was 20. So I had been working at different jobs for 14 years prior to coming to Oprah, and then I took that job at 34 and I left at 45. So it was about taking all that experience from 20 to 45 and going out and sharing it with in a different form, and not even knowing what that form was, but trusting in, this higher power, the universe, source, God, the divine, that I was doing the right thing. I just trusted that. And was it scary at times? Yes. It's not like I'm some badass who's like, oh no, I never have fear. I never lost any sleep. It's been 4 years, and there are moments where I'm like, holy shit, what am I doing? But I'm able to very quickly because I have aligned with that energy source, that there's so many things to call it vibrational field. Man, I can just pop right back into it.
Just call it the universe right now. That won't offend anybody because we're all part of the universe.
The universe, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You know what I sometimes say to students when I'm talking? As I said, in order to find your wings, you have to leap off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just you can't. Sometimes we have this tendency to want to know that everything's going to be all right before we chance it, but sometimes you can't know that, and you just have to go.
Take that leap of faith.
Yeah, into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Libby, I have to say I find you extremely personable for one, perky, upbeat. It's a pleasure listening to you, but I find you very inspirational. The fact that you could when I was in high school, we did this play called Waiting for Godot. It's an absurdist play by Samuel Beckett, right? And basically what it was about was these two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, they wait endlessly in vain for someone named Godot to come to them. And it's like, a lot of our lives are lived like that on a daily basis. We have a routine that we never really get out of, and our routine basically, somehow, the culmination of it is finding enough money to pay the bills, enough money to have a good vacation, enough money to do this or do that, and, we end up working ourselves to death, and we forget that the reason we started to work in the first place was so that we could have a comfortable life, and we start finding that we put life on the back burner and work becomes our life. So what you did, taking that leap and leaving a really good job, a really, settled career, that pretty much, your career was exciting. You get to meet tons of people from different walks of life, it's just amazing. And to actually take that leap and find yourself and reconnect with the essence of you, not just let life, come to you, but you went to seize life, that is truly inspirational. That's amazing. I want to be like you. I do. I'm a big chicken. I try to think everything out before I try to do anything because I have no guts for it. I want to be like you.
Well,
you're awesome. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so we're good.
I'm just hearing user left your channel, so I'm the Future Prize podcast.
That's what we're in. We're in the virtual studio here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're good. But So I didn't mean to embarrass you or anything. So let's get back on track. Okay, Val, you need to learn how to
Wait, are we off? What's happening right now?
We're still live. We're live. We're good.
Okay. Yeah.
But
so
I think we need to give him a minute to compose herself after I just gushed all over her. I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. I think that's great. I think what I'm thinking is it's funny. You know what popped into my head when you said that? I remember. Well, I don't know. What's interesting is I was in a unique situation where I was able to take that kind of time, and do that, and with my savings, and you know what I mean. It wasn't. I understand could be people, single parents with kids and mortgages and college. You can't just do that. I was in a very unique situation, and when people go, well, I can't do that. It's right, you can't maybe do exactly what I did, and some people can if they want to do that,
right?
If they have that availability. But how do you do it in your own life? In it, a chunk of that, you can do that in your own life to however it would fit for your life. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And you know what? That's something we want to discuss more of. But I think Robert was trying to tell us that it was time for commercials just now.
Yeah.
I didn't see a pop up here, but it is, right?
It is time for commercial breaks. We do have to pay those bills. So, we have to keep ourselves on the air. And for your listening pleasure, listeners, so that you can keep hearing Real Talk with Robert Zuckerman, we need to break for commercials. Please join us again after these messages for more from our special guest, Libby Moore.
Are you hangry? Know the signs. Uncontrollable yelling.
Why aren't you egg rolls?
Hallucination.
Sushi.
Pants discomfort.
I hate you, pants.
Hangry. It can happen to anyone. Fortunately, there's E24, the app that tells hunger to shut up.
Egg rolls. Thanks, Snoop.
E24. In my medical opinion, it's the best way to order food online, baby.
Hey guys, this is Sarah from Night Talk with Joe Rocks. Are you guys looking for a quiet getaway with a modern flair? Because I have a really great place I want to tell you all about. The Milestone Inn at 146 South Pomperaug Avenue in Woodbury, Connecticut has the perfect combination of modern amenities, but is surrounded by 3 verdant acres for a peaceful weekend getaway. And guess what? Mention the promo code Joe Rocks and you'll receive the Joe Rocks Signature Suite. You'll also receive a box of Night Talk chocolates, premium bath accessories, and a beautiful king-size bed fitted with luxury bedding. At the Milestone Inn, you'll enjoy plush comforts, modern amenities at exceptional value. Call and book the Joe Rock Suite now at 203-405-6261 at the Milestone Inn in Woodbury, Connecticut. Hey everyone, I want to tell you all about an amazing salon, Joyce's, located at 132 Ferry Street in Everett, Massachusetts. Joyce's specializes in the latest techniques in coloring, styling, cutting, and beach waves. Joyce's features Sukesha all-natural nutrient products and organic color. Joyce's full-service spa and salon, located at 132 Ferry Street, Everett, Massachusetts. 617-387-6688, specializing in you.
Hey there, all you creepy people. This is Kevin Wayne from Portland, Oregon. You're listening to Armed Radio, home of the big guns.
Hey, this is your girl, J Monique.
And Chulita Sarita, aka Chichi. And you can listen to Outline at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Or Thursday, 9:30 Pacific Time on Armed Radio Global. Right after Pot Talk.
Okay, so we're back here with Libby Moore, and Libby, can you talk? You just went on a spiritual retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go?
We called it a spirit think tank.
A think tank.
Yeah, we went to. It was 5 friends and I, and we went to Ajo, Arizona, AJO. And we stayed at a conference center. I mean, it's tiny. It's this tiny little town deep in the desert of Arizona, close to the Mexican border. A little retreat center called Sonora Desert Conference Center, I think it's called. God, I hope I said that right. Basically, Google Ajo, Arizona, and it's the only conference center there. But we got together, and these 5 women and I all connected because we all kind of knew each other through different areas from all over the country, and one from Vancouver, Canada. And we decided we were going to get together and just talk about the universe. We weren't going to have any agenda, but we all really enjoyed talking about, as I was saying earlier, God, source, the divine, the universe, whatever you want to call it, Allah, Jah. And so that's what we did. We had no agenda. And we had a local woman cooking us the most amazing, healthy food from the organic garden. And we would get up and we meet at 8:30 and have breakfast and sit outside under this beautiful pagoda and just talk. The conversation just rolled, and it was heart to heart, energy to energy amongst peers, equals. Really interesting. Like one woman is a channeler from Northern California. Another woman is a medium from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and just a really eclectic, interesting group of different religions, different beliefs, and just sharing from the heart. And it was magical. It was 3.5 days of just magicalness. That's the way to describe it. Yeah.
Isn't it amazing how women can get together and chat about those things and there's no conflict? We can just say, I accept your point of view and I think it's beautiful and liberating and I will learn from it. And we don't have that conflict. I love that.
Oh my God. And I have to add here, like, you know, I am not going to talk about politics, but I have to just say this, that, you know, one of my dear friends who joined us is Muslim on that retreat, and she is one of the most lovely, profound, wise people I've ever met. I mean, nice. It's just so upsetting to me. I think that's one of the things that how we originally started. I was like, okay, I grew up Christian. I grew up as an Episcopalian, and then you grew up as you're a Muslim. Like, we couldn't be more similar. I mean, really, when we talk about what we believe to be the higher intelligence, the divine, it's the exact same thing. And it all comes down to really simple stuff, like loving and respecting one another. And it's really sad to me where our country is right now and how much hate is being thrown around about just these, I don't want to get too political, but it's just very sad. So that's why we came together to talk about that in Arizona. It was beautiful.
Lovely. That sounds amazing. Well, Robin, I'm sorry. I keep interjecting. You know,
yeah, I'm getting poked here.
I just poked you. I poked you to tell you I was sorry. But go on. You were saying something.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I'm loving what Libby is saying, and you know, that just sounds like a great thing. And also, no, because I remember, like, way back when, like 25 years ago, I had a beautiful girlfriend, and we used to have these small dinner parties where we just entertained people at our apartment. And at the end of the night, like the women would all be in the kitchen just talking away, and like the guys would all just be sitting in the living room, like staring at their navels. And that, I mean, that to me is kind of what you're talking about. Is like, you know, really communicating. And then I remember in the '90s, I decided to. I was also trying to get into a relationship, and this woman had lost her father and her fiance, and really wasn't ready to get into a relationship. And we tried couples therapy, and she didn't even want to do that. But I decided, okay, I'm going to try and, you know, just the couples therapy was a husband and wife team, and I decided, okay, I'm going to, I'll just try it. And so I tried going to see the husband, you know, in therapy for a couple of years, and I remember, like, the first time we were talking about something, and he goes, well, how did that make you feel, or how do you feel about it? And the words wouldn't come out. So I spent like 2 years trying to learn how to talk about my feelings. It was a very interesting process. So, you know, I can relate to what you're saying, Libby. And so, and now, so you did that, and I remember today we connected for the first time, and you left me a message, and I was saying before how just relaxed and calm and amazing your voice sounded on the machine, you know, on the service after that. So it must have been an incredible experience out there. And now you're getting ready for another journey. Is that correct?
Yes. So on Monday, I'm leaving for India, and again, as we were talking about before we started this, you know, in that year of can I go back a little? I tend to go back, right? Sure. Yeah, just to for some context. So after doing the Libby Moore Gypsy Tour and following my heart for 365 days, at the end of that, people would say, well, now what are you going to do? You know, you need to get a job. And I would say, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do exactly what I've been doing for the past year. And they said, well, what's that? And I said, you know, just sitting down across from someone, having lunch, dinner, coffee, and just talking heart to heart, energy to energy, and looking in their eyes and not looking at a BlackBerry or an iPhone, and just really being present with them, really having a real conversation heart to heart. And they said, well, how are you going to make money doing that? And I said, well, I don't know right now, but I love doing this so much, and I get so much energy from doing it and give so much energy. There's an energy exchange. It's not me giving energy to the person. It's an energy exchange. So we both go out in the world feeling more empowered and bright and inspired, and that ripple effect goes out. So I said, I don't know how I'm going to make money right now, but I know it will come to me because I love doing this so much. And so that's what I've done. So I ended up getting my life coaching certification, and that's what I do now. I work with people one-on-one, doing private coaching on the phone, and I do consulting and advising and blah blah blah. And then I've built my life around saying, does my heart want to do this? And if it's like, as my friend Catherine says, if it's hell yes, then you do it. And if anything other than hell yes means no. So if it's not a hell yes, then, it's a no. Yeah. And so,
but what if you're not ready to say hell yes? What if you're like, oh my god, yes, but, because a lot of people have the buts in their life too.
Wait, say that again, Val.
Okay, but what if you're not a personality type that can literally grab the world and say hell yes, because you don't have that confidence yet, because everybody builds to that confidence, right? What if you're like, one of those people who your confidence is like, oh my god, yes, I want to do this, but, and you find all the buts to stop you. Do you still let go of the hell yes and not do it? Or do you take the chance anyway?
Well, it depends on the person. I don't want to go tell them this, like, oh no, you just say hell yes, and then someone's like, oh shit, look what Libby did to me. So I don't want to take that on. But I will say, I'm in Aries, right? I'm the pioneer of the zodiac. I like to go out there. I like to, discover new lands. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cowboy, or an 18-wheeler truck driver. And then before I wanted to go into advertising. But I feel like at 49, I'll be 50 in next month. I feel like I'm living the spirit of a cowboy, and I'm living the spirit of an 18-wheeler truck driver, meaning going out and, traveling and freedom, and meeting different people and having conversations. So it's interesting when I think back that the thing I wanted to do as a kid, I'm actually doing now at 49, 50 years old.
That's awesome.
And I would say to what you just said, Val, for people who are like, God, I can't, I've got a kid, and like I said before, mortgage and husband, partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, gay, straight, bi, whatever, it's like, maybe you can't do what I'm doing, but you can do it in little ways in your life. Like, some people think, like, people that are looking for a job right now, they're like, oh, I have to be on the computer all day long looking for a job. Sometimes stopping at 2 p.m. and going to treat yourself to lunch somewhere and then go to a movie is exactly what you need to do to put yourself into an energy to bring that job to you. Does that make sense?
It really does. I'm Indian, so I totally get the whole energy and building your whole nomadic sciences, building that energy and having that channel back to you. It's karma. It's not just karma, but it's dharma.
Yeah. And so, for example, you were telling me during the commercial break, your friend Allie, right?
Yeah.
Ryan's mom?
Yeah.
Like she has different stuff going on. It's like she could, in her own life, like, what's a way that she could say, like, shout out to Allie, by the way. Like, what's a way that you can, like, do something in your life that's I'm going to do that for myself today. It doesn't have to be something big and grand. It can be something that just feeds you and makes you feel good. And then that ripple effect goes out to Ryan, right? Your child, and everybody else in your life.
You know what?
Yeah.
Today, Allie told me that there were some concerns because with everything happening, that Allie had lost her job 3 months before she had a baby. Then 2 days after baby was born, they found out he had PKU, and this is going to be lifelong testing. It's expenses that they can't afford. And then today, Nick has been so stressed that he's falling asleep on his feet, and he's gotten himself so sick with it that the doctor has him on these medications, and his work sent him home. So there's a lot of things going on, right?
That's the ripple effect you're talking about.
That's right. And Allie's dealing with this. But do you know what she said to me today? She said to me, she's like, Val, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for everything that I want to do something to help. And we were discussing the No Kids Hungry and how we could set up a food pantry or set up in a city garden or something, and how we could help with that, raising awareness and funds and stuff. So imagine she's going through everything she's going through, right? And they don't have, one can of Ryan's formula is $89, and he's only 14 days old right now, 15 days old.
I didn't realize that.
$89 for one can, and they go through 2.5 cans a week. And imagine as he's getting older, they'll be going through more and more and more. And it's ridiculously expensive. And anybody who wants to donate can, of course, go to Ryan's GoFundMe page, which can be found on the Armed Global website, as well as Robert's page, my page. Every armed host has it on their page, because we're all in support here of raising awareness for PKU. But can you imagine how beautiful Ali is, the spirit and the soul of this girl, that she is not only looking at facing all this, but she wants to do something because she feels gratitude that people are reaching out to her.
Well, that was like, my years ago when I went to Brazil and had the opportunity to go into the favelas, and you have 8 people living in one room, and they would share whatever they have with you, their meal, and it's just that kind of spirit, and so.
But you were saying something, and I cut you off, Libby. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you were saying that. And God, Ali, I'm praying for you. You're in my prayers, and everybody else who is praying. Pray for Ali and her son and her family.
Yeah.
That's energy too. Prayer is energy.
It is. It so totally is.
Mm-hmm.
And Libby, speaking of the life coaching, and you were. I have to thank you because you were very helpful to me. It kind of gave me some coaching about my whole thing, about the whole Hollywood thing and the higher calling, and so everything is really how you look at it in life. And
oh my God,
to have the right point of view, because I was kind of I'm in a transition now where, because of my own genetic disease, the work for me has stopped in Hollywood, and so now, but I the same way that I got into photography originally was through an experience where my 2 business partners were trying to screw me over, and it was traumatic back then, but now I actually look back and thank them, 26 years later. So everything is really how you look at it, and how you're able to do things.
Everything, Robert. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole conversation in itself. Everything is about perspective. Everything. And what I found, because my God, I've, in my life, again, starting to work around 20. I mean, that's just like out of college. That's not even including all the summer jobs since I was 15. So, everything is about perspective. And what I really realized, so I've maybe in my life been fired by fired from 2 jobs, and really angry at the time. I was in my 20s, but I was like, I can't believe, in hindsight, I'm like, thank God, because, had that not happened, I never would have gone to there, to Oprah, and even like that story I tell about Rosie O'Donnell, meaning when I was working at Rolling Stone, I really wanted to be a writer for Rosie O'Donnell, and I was sending all these submissions, and everyone I would meet, they'd say, where do you work? And I said, I work at Rolling Stone, but I'm going to be writing for Rosie O'Donnell in a year from now. But after 10 months of sending writing submissions to the head writer, no response. So I said this prayer one day. I was going to work on the subway to Rolling Stone. I said, okay, God, clearly you don't want me to have that job with Rosie. So whatever it is you want me to do, every atom and cell and molecule, my body, mind, soul is open to it. Show me what it is. Be really clear. Shine a big fat spotlight on it, and I'll do it. And I just kind of released that prayer, that intention, and put it out there. And I really meant it. I opened my heart to other possibilities that I was not aware of.
I still want to cough right now.
Boom. 5 weeks later, it was 4 or 5 weeks later, the job with Oprah came along.
Oh.
And as soon as I saw that email, I knew, even though it didn't have Oprah's name, because it came from an executive headhunter through another assistant to this networking group, I knew that it was Oprah. And I thought, oh my God, this is for Oprah Winfrey. And in that moment, I knew that's why I did not get the job at Saturday Night Live. Because I had interviewed at Saturday Night Live. I wanted to be a writer there. And that's why I didn't get the job at Rosie. That's why no one's responding, because I'm not supposed to be writing for Rosie. I'm supposed to be working as Oprah's chief of staff executive assistant. So that's what I did. And I went and ended up doing that for 11 years, and it changed my entire life for the better. So I'm going to wrap it up here. So anybody listening who is trying to force something, whether it's a job or a relationship or anything that you're like, no, I need to do that, and it's for me, and he's the one or she's the one, or that's my dream job. If you can just let go and say, okay, I give up, not give up. It's not about giving up. It's saying, I release this to something bigger than myself, even if you don't believe in something bigger, but you believe in possibilities, or you believe in your higher self. Release it to that and see what comes. It's amazing. I'm not going to use a swear word here because I could. It is freaking amazing what happens when you do that.
You know what just popped into my head? It's like you have an ultimate dream or ultimate goal, but it's like, you know, you want to do something. Let's say I want to be the prima ballerina or something. And instead of, you know, going for that big dream and that big goal, you stop yourself and you try to take the small baby steps. It's like, okay, I need to be perfect at doing this plie or whatever. I don't know. I don't dance. So, you know, I'm just kind of making stuff up here. Mm-hmm. But it's like you try to go from goal to goal to goal, and you forget that the ultimate goal isn't being the prima ballerina. You want to be prima ballerina because why? Because you want that feeling of achievement, accomplishment, that feeling that your hard work paid off, right? So sometimes we don't recognize what our own goals are, and we stop ourselves. And like you said, when you let it go, you realize you weren't supposed to be on SNL or Rosie, and you got Rolling Stone, man. I mean, sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's a beautiful way of putting it, and thank you for that, because Ali is like messaging me. I'm getting a few messages from people right now, and I'll tell you, your love quotient is off the scales. Everybody is like, oh my God, we love this woman.
You know, I have to say, this is what I found. I kind of, the past 4 years, I've used it like an experiment. Like, I'm going to use my life as a spiritual and a scientific experience. And scientists are like, yeah, it's not very scientific. But my point is, the more I open up my heart and the more I'm myself, like I'm much more myself right now in this moment, you know, whatever it is, March 3rd, you know, at 9:54 p.m., it's like than I was 24 hours ago. And definitely more than I was a week ago. So it's a constant thing. There is no finish line. I'm constantly trying to be more and more and more myself. And I feel like the more I am myself, the more that people respond, because I think it's like when I meet people who are totally themselves and they feel so free in like their body and their mind, I'm like, oh, I wish I was like that. You know, that inspires me to want to be more myself. So
yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like an energy thing. It's an energy thing.
The journey is the destination.
Thank you, Dan Eldon.
That's so great. And then, have you ever read or heard of the book Letters to a Young Poet?
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
It's a very thin book, but it's an exchange of letters between a famous German poet, Rilke, R-I-L-K-E, Rainer Maria Rilke, in the early 1900s, and he had gone to a military academy, and he was now in his 30s and a famous poet, and a young student at the military academy who was an aspiring poet wrote to him seeking advice, and it's an amazing book that I highly recommend for any artist. Like I said, it's a thin volume, but one of the things Rilke says is, he says, look, don't worry about knowing the answers in life. Just live the questions. And if you live the questions long enough, you may live your way into the answers. And, you know, so I think that's kind of what you're saying. So, anyway.
I love that.
Just throwing that in the mix, yeah. It's pretty cool.
I need to write that down.
Yeah.
No, seriously, I'm going to write that down, because I like to write these things down, and I put it up where I can see it, so it reminds me to think about it. And when you think about it, the more you think about it, the more you can try to actualize it and bring it into being part of your life, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. That was beautiful.
So, but that's really what it is, because sometimes we can't, you know, oftentimes... There's another book, you've heard of the I Ching?
Oh, yeah.
So the I Ching is basically an ancient Chinese system of I wouldn't say fortune telling, but it's like, you know, there are 64 hexagrams in the book, and one of the best interpretation is a book, the I Ching by Brian Brown Walker. It's very accessible, and it takes the ancient language and makes it very accessible. But one of the things that he keeps stressing in the book, and most of the hexagrams say, is, you know, often when we have a conflict or some situation, we want to fix it right away. That's our impulse. And he says, don't necessarily rush to fix things. Wait for the right answer to arise, and try to contact your higher, access your higher self. And it's not always the best path to try and fix something right away. Sometimes you have to wait until the right answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, I just assume we have about 2 minutes left here. So Libby, I just really want to thank you. And are there any parting comments or words that you want to say to our listeners before we go?
The one thing this just pops into my head a lot, and it's kind of what we just talked about, which is to try your best to be yourself at all times with all people in all situations. And it's hard to do that. I mean, there are times, that I still have a hard time doing that. It's like, oh, I don't want to disappoint this person, or what if I'm telling myself? Yeah, exactly. And so what I found is that the more I am myself, the more that people respond favorably to me, and the people that don't respond, it's like you're not supposed to be friends with every single person you cross in life. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay. Like, if you don't get a job, don't take it personally. It's fine. It's the universe trying to direct you in a different direction. That's all. Don't be like, oh, I can't believe I didn't get that job. I really wanted that job. It's like, no, it's like, it's people are going on a path. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to go do that. And then, boom, they're like, oh, my God, there's this boulder. Like, I was headed there, and now there's a boulder. In actuality, it's a breadcrumb leading you in a different direction. So,
I love that.
Perspective. It's all about perspective.
Oh, yeah.
When something happens, you think, oh, my God, it's a boulder. I'm blocked. I can't. No. It's a breadcrumb. Imagine it like shriveling down to a little breadcrumb, and it's leading you in a different direction. I wasn't supposed to be writing for Rosie. I was supposed to be Oprah's chief of staff. And it was the best experience of my life. One of the best experiences. It changed my entire life. So I hope people will file that away in the back of their mind. And just remember, when they're trying to push for something, oh, well, God, Libby tried to do that. And then when she finally let go, this amazing thing came along. So
so we need a slow chant right now. It's all, Libby, Libby, Libby. Because you're
thank you so much,
awesome.
Libby. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Val. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to talk with us. And for listeners, before I turn you back over to Robert, I just want to say, make sure you stay tuned for the big boss himself, Mr. Joe Rocks, for Night Talk with Joe Rocks tonight, featuring Kimberly and Cuman and a bunch of different people that you don't want to miss. So I'm going to turn you back over to Zuck so he can wrap up his show.
Oh, well, thank you so much, both of you. And yes, please stay tuned for Joe. He's an amazing guy. It's going to be a great show. And come back next week. And Libby, maybe you'll come back again, because I feel like we could have gone for hours and hours.
Of course, I would love to.
Yeah, okay.
Would love to. Thank you, guys.
Done deal. Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, good night.
All right, so that's all the time we have tonight for Real Talk with Robert Zuckerman. Thank you very much, Robert, for having me. And thank you, Jimmy, as always, for producing, and Libby for being the most amazing guest that we could possibly have wanted. Thank you very much for being here. Until next week at 9 p.m. Eastern on Thursday nights, when you will be tuning back in for Real Talk with Robert Zuckerman, I wish you a safe night, a good week, and blessed be.